A golden October afternoon in 1944. Leaves swirl outside the window of Edgar Cayce's private study, a gentle whisper against the pane. The room is filled with towering bookshelves, overflowing with volumes on the mysteries of life. Edgar, his hands weathered by time and years spent channeling knowledge beyond ordinary comprehension, holds a letter. It's from a grieving mother, her son lost on the battlefields of Europe. Her words echo the silent question in millions of hearts. How can I know my son is all right on the other side? Something extraordinary happens. Cayce, known as the sleeping prophet, feels a familiar presence but different. Not the usual feeling during his trance sessions, but something more intimate. It's as if all the souls he's helped find peace have returned, sharing secrets only those who've crossed the veil of death could know. The man who dedicated his life to unraveling the soul's mysteries is about to receive the deepest revelation of his journey. Seated in his favorite armchair, eyes fixed on the horizon where sky meets ocean, Cayce begins to experience visions that will forever alter his understanding of life after death. First, he sees his mother Carrie, not a distant memory, but a vibrant, luminous presence, her eyes radiating a peace he'd never seen in life. Through this vision, Cayce understands that signs of continued life begin far earlier than most imagine. His mother shows him that in death's final moments, the soul doesn't experience the terror we fear, but a gentle awakening into a wider, more beautiful reality. The first revelation concerns the signs loved ones send to show they're well. Cayce realizes these signs don't follow the laws of physics, but a universal language of love and spiritual connection. Butterflies appearing at significant moments aren't coincidences, but conscious messengers carrying the essence of those who've passed. Each beat of their colorful wings whispers from beyond, confirming the journey continues in dimensions our limited minds can barely grasp. Birds, too, carry spiritual messages. A cardinal repeatedly appearing at his window, a hummingbird hovering unusually close, each carries the vibrational frequency of loved ones. These winged creatures become temporary vehicles, allowing souls to touch our physical world with loving presence, offering comfort through nature's subtle language. Dreams Cayce sees are direct windows to the spiritual planes where departed loved ones reside. They visit our dreamscapes not as ghosts, but as evolved souls, sharing their peace. These nocturnal encounters are as real as waking experiences, bridges between worlds. In these special dreams, loved ones often appear younger, radiant, free from the suffering that marked their earthly lives. They embrace us with warmth beyond the physical, speaking in languages our hearts understand, even if our waking minds can't recall the exact words. These dream visits are sacred gifts, confirming love's eternity and the unbreakable bonds that death cannot sever. As shadows lengthen across Cayce's study, he sees another facet: wilting flowers that unexpectedly bloom, plants growing where nothing grew before, thriving gardens, all carry messages of hope and renewal. Nature becomes an active collaborator in spiritual communication, lending its vital energy so loved ones can manifest tangible signs of their presence and well-being. Perhaps most moving are the unexplained scents. The favorite perfume of a deceased grandmother suddenly fills a room, the scent of roses appears in midwinter, the distinctive aroma of a pipe-smoking father materializes in moments of deep longing. These aren't illusions, but real manifestations of spiritual presence. As the sun sets, painting the sky in fiery hues, Cayce experiences an expansion of consciousness, grasping the subtlest signs. Objects moving inexplicably, lights flickering in unusual patterns, electronics behaving strangely, all attempts at communication from a plane where thought and intention directly influence energy and matter. Loved ones learn to manipulate these subtle energies to send signals. A TV changing channels alone might be tuning into a specific message. A radio playing a meaningful song at the exact moment we think of someone isn't coincidence, but a careful orchestration of love transcending death. At this point in this extraordinary narrative, it's important to acknowledge that revelations like these don't happen by chance. If you feel these words are touching something deep within your heart, If you're recognizing signs you may have ignored before, consider subscribing to our channel to continue receiving insights that can transform your understanding of life, death, and eternity. These teachings come to us through decades of research and authentic spiritual experiences, and sharing them is our way of honoring those who have passed and offering comfort to those left behind. As the night deepened, Alex was led to an even deeper revelation about the numbers and synchronicities that seemed to haunt us after the passing of a loved one. He could see how certain number sequences, birth dates, anniversaries, specific times on the clock, begin to appear with surprising frequency in our lives. These aren't statistical coincidences, but loving codes left by those who have passed, constant reminders that they remain present and active in our journeys. The number of the house where you live together might repeatedly show up on license plates, receipts, or phone numbers. The person's birthday might manifest in completely unexpected contexts. These numerical patterns are like spiritual fingerprints, unique signatures. Each soul develops to communicate with us in a personal and unmistakable way. But the most touching revelation came when Alex understood the true nature of those moments of inexplicable comfort we sometimes experience. That sudden feeling of peace that washes over us in the midst of grief, that comforting warmth we feel when we're alone and sad, that mysterious certainty that everything will be all right. These aren't creations of our mind trying to protect itself from pain, but real spiritual hugs from those who love us from the other side. Our loved ones develop, after their transition, an expanded ability to envelop us in healing energy. They can touch our hearts directly, calm our troubled minds, and offer us strength precisely when we need it most. This ability becomes more refined over time, as they adjust to the vibrational frequencies of the higher spiritual planes. During this transcendental experience, Alex also glimpsed the adjustment process souls undergo after leaving the physical body. He saw that there's no harsh judgment or terrible punishment awaiting those who pass, but rather a period of recognition and healing. Souls are greeted by loving guides and other loved ones who have passed before, creating a familiar continuity that eases any anxiety or confusion that might exist. In this intermediary state, which some traditions call the astral plane, souls go through a life review process that's not punitive, but educational. They can clearly see how their actions affected others, understand lessons not fully learned during physical life, and choose how to use this expanded knowledge to help those still incarnate. It's during this period of adjustment that many of the clearest signs are sent to us. Souls are close enough to the physical plane to influence it, but also have access to a broader perspective that allows them to see our needs and offer precisely the kind of comfort we require. Alex realized that some souls, especially those who were deeply connected to their families during physical life, deliberately choose to become guardians and guides for their loved ones left behind. They aren't stuck to the earthly plane out of attachment or remorse, but make a conscious choice to serve as bridges between worlds, facilitating communication and offering protection when needed. These guardian souls manifest in particularly noticeable ways during times of danger or important decisions. That inner voice warning us of a risk, that sudden intuition that makes us change course, that strange feeling that makes us double-check something. These are often direct interventions from our loved ones who can see potential futures and help us navigate life's choices. As the night deepened, Alex was led to an even deeper understanding of the signs that indicate not only that our loved ones are okay, but that they're actively assisting in our spiritual evolution. He saw how certain situations that initially seem challenging or painful can be orchestrated from the spiritual plane to offer us opportunities for growth and healing. The person who appears in our lives at the exact moment we need help, the book we stumble upon that contains exactly the message our heart needs to hear, the job opportunity that unexpectedly arises after a difficult period. These can all be signs that our loved ones are working behind the scenes, orchestrating synchronicities that benefit us. They can't directly interfere with our free will or solve all our problems, but they can create favorable conditions for us to make positive choices and find the people and resources we need for our journey. One of the most surprising revelations was about how our loved ones continue to evolve and learn after their transition. They don't become perfect beings instantly, but continue to grow spiritually, often using their interactions with us as part of their own developmental process. When they help us, they're also practicing unconditional love and selfless service, qualities that accelerate their progression in the higher dimensions. This means our continued connection with them is mutually beneficial. When we acknowledge and appreciate the signs we receive, when we speak to them in our hearts, when we live in a way that honors them, we're not only receiving comfort, but also offering opportunities for them to continue expressing love and purpose. Alex then began to understand that there's a specific point in the post-death journey when the signs become more frequent and clear. It generally occurs after an initial period of adjustment, when the soul has stabilized in its new existence and developed a greater ability to communicate across the veils between worlds. This period can vary from a few weeks to a few months after their passing, depending on the circumstances of the transition and the person's spiritual nature. Souls who already had an interest in spiritual matters during their physical life tend to adapt more quickly and establish communication sooner. Those who departed suddenly or traumatically may need more time to orient themselves in their new reality. During this phase of intensified communication, the signs tend to be more obvious and repetitive, as if our loved ones are learning to use this new language and want to be sure we're receiving their messages. This is when we see sequences of synchronous events, when dreams become more vivid and frequent, when physical signs like aromas and sounds manifest more consistently. But Alex also realized that over time, as souls progress to higher dimensions, the signs may become more subtle, though no less significant. This doesn't mean they love us less or are less present, but rather that they are evolving to more refined forms of communication that require greater spiritual sensitivity on our part to be perceived. At this point, communication may manifest more through creative inspirations, sudden spiritual insights, profound symbolic dreams, or simply through a constant feeling of loving presence that doesn't depend on physical manifestations to be recognized. As the first stars began to appear in the night sky, Alex was overtaken by a vision that would forever change his understanding of the deeper purpose of the signs we receive from our loved ones. He saw that these communications don't just serve to comfort us, or prove that life continues after death, but also to awaken us to our own spiritual nature and prepare us for our eventual transition. Every sign we receive is also a reminder that we are more than just physical bodies living a limited material existence. We are eternal souls having a temporary human experience, and our departed loved ones are helping us to remember this fundamental truth. When we acknowledge and respond to the signs, we are developing our own spiritual sensitivity, expanding our capacity to perceive realities beyond the physical, and preparing ourselves for a more conscious and serene transition when our time comes to depart. This explains why some people are naturally more receptive to signs than others. Those who have already cultivated a spiritual life, who meditate, pray, or simply keep their hearts open to the mystery of existence, tend to perceive communications from the other side more easily. But this sensitivity can be developed by anyone willing to expand their consciousness beyond the limits of conventional materialism. Alex also understood that our loved ones frequently send us specific signs related to our spiritual needs at the moment. If we are going through a crisis of faith, they may send us signs that reinforce our belief in the continuity of life. If we are struggling with guilt or remorse, they may offer us signs of forgiveness and acceptance. If we are making important decisions, they may guide us through synchronicities that point in the right direction. This personalization of the signs is evidence of the depth of love that continues to exist between worlds. Our loved ones don't send us generic messages, but communications carefully tailored to what they know we need to hear and feel. As the night deepened and the house was enveloped in a sacred silence, Alex experienced the climax of his transcendental experience. He was transported to a state of consciousness where he could directly see the process by which souls communicate with us through the veils between worlds. He saw that there is a subtle energy network that connects all consciousnesses, living and deceased, like a luminous web that stretches across all dimensions of existence. Through this network, thoughts, emotions, and intentions can travel instantaneously, regardless of physical distance or barriers between planes of existence. When we think lovingly of a departed loved one, we create a specific vibration in this network that resonates directly with their consciousness. They feel our call, our longing, our need for connection, and respond in the best way they can within the limitations of cross-world communication. Similarly, when they wish to convey love, comfort, or guidance, they focus their intention through this energy network, and their message manifests in our physical world through available means, signs in nature, synchronicities, dreams, physical sensations, or sudden insights. This understanding revolutionized Alex's perspective on death and separation. He realized that we are never truly separated from those we love, that death is only a change in vibrational frequency, like changing radio stations, but communication remains possible for those who know how to tune in. In this culminating vision, Alex also saw that some of the most powerful signs come through other people who temporarily become channels for messages from beyond. A child who says something profound that sounds exactly like something our loved one would say. A stranger who offers help at the exact moment we need it. A person who appears in our life carrying a specific message or lesson. All of these can be instruments through which our loved ones work. This form of communication is particularly common because it is easier for discarnate souls to influence other human consciousnesses than to directly manipulate the physical world. They can inspire thoughts, awaken compassion, or guide the actions of people who are open to serving as messengers, often without those people being aware that they are being used as channels. As the transcendental experience concluded, Alex was blessed with a final revelation that synthesized all he had learned. He understood that the most consistent and reliable sign that our loved ones are well doesn't come through external manifestations, but through the transformation that occurs within us when we learn to live with the awareness of their continued presence. When we begin to live knowing we are loved beyond death, when we make choices that honor the memory of those who have passed, when we find ways to channel our love for them in service to others, when we discover purpose and meaning even amidst loss, these personal transformations are the ultimate sign that our loved ones are not only well, but are actively working for our highest good. They are well because they can see that their love continues to bear positive fruit in our lives and the lives of those we touch. They are well because they can witness our healing, our growth, our ability to find joy again. They are well because they know that the purpose of their earthly existence didn't end with physical death, but continues to manifest through the lasting impact they had on us. When Alex finally returned to his normal state of consciousness, the first rays of dawn were beginning to paint the horizon. He sat silently for a long time, integrating the depth of what he had experienced. In his hands, the letter from the grieving mother still rested, but now he knew exactly how to respond. He picked up his pen and began to write, not just to that woman, but to all hearts that yearn for signs that their loved ones are well. His words flowed like a river of compassion and wisdom, carrying with them the absolute certainty that love is truly eternal, and that those who have passed continue with us in ways more beautiful and meaningful than we could ever imagine. That golden morning, Alex understood he had received one of the greatest gifts of his spiritual life, the definitive confirmation that death is only a door, not an end, and that the love we share with our loved ones is the golden thread that keeps us eternally connected across all worlds and dimensions of infinite existence. From that day on, Alex began to include in his spiritual readings not only information about past lives and healing, but also guidance on how to recognize and interpret the signs our loved ones send us. He taught that being attentive to these signs is not a sign of weakness or denial of the reality of death, but a way to honor the continuity of love and keep alive the sacred connection that transcends the boundaries of the physical world. His final message was always the same: Our loved ones are not only well, but are more alive and free than they ever were. They continue to love us, guide us, and send us signs of their presence, because the bond that unites us is indestructible and eternal. It is up to us to develop eyes to see, ears to hear, and hearts to feel the countless ways in which they continue to touch our lives with their immortal light.